I just wanted to show you guys how we get from this and those to this final product. Huge shout out to Retrofit Parts. We bought these housings off of them. Super high quality stuff and really good guy to support. So if you need these housings, go check him out. He's on Instagram. He's got a website, Retrofit Parts. This is a Holley Retro Bright 5.75 inch bulb for an E30 retrofit. We've got a customer who would like to install these headlights on his E30 M3. The issue with that is that these headlights are designed to work with an H3/H4 connector. On E30 M3s, they use an ellipsoid connector. This right here is a male 9006 connector. What we're going to be doing today is soldering these pigtails onto these headlights and installing them in these headlight buckets. Let's get going. We got these headlights off of Bimmerworld. They sell it as an E30 retrofit kit. We're gonna start off with these. These are gonna be the low beam bulbs. And if you'll take a look here, we have 3 pins. What we're gonna do is cut this connector off, and there's gonna be a few wires in there. You're gonna have a black, you're gonna have a red, and you're gonna have a white. So let's cut this open and let's take a look. Now we've got our connector cut off, our wires spliced. I used their wiring diagram and I used a multimeter to continuity test these wires and figure out which one went to which. For the low beams and the ellipsoids, we just need 2 wires. We need a ground and we need a low beam. These also offer a high beam power function, but we are not going to be using that. So the black is going to be our ground wire and the white is going to be our low beam power wire. We have our male ellipsoid connector. I know male, it looks like a female connector, but this is actually a male connector. We are going to then cut this and splice this onto this headlight. Let's get to it. I've got myself a reference mark on this piece of paper. We are going to cut it and we're going to strip these wires. Our black is going to go to our black, and our white is going to go to our red here. We're not going to use the red wire on here to get that out of the mix. I am going to strip these further back here. Now that we've got everything spliced on the connector side and the headlight side, we need to have insulation before we start soldering. So I'm going to be using this heat shrink tubing. I have a full set of them in all sorts of different sizes. I would highly recommend getting one of those sets if you plan to do anything like this. Slide those small heat shrink tubing pieces over this side. A larger heat shrink tubing piece that we are going to slide over this side right here. So now we're going to tin each of these wires so we don't have a cold solder joint. So to get our solder onto these connectors, we are going to clean off the tip, and then you're going to pre-tin the tip of your soldering iron, and then we're going to hold this on the wire. Now you want to make sure you're feeding this into the wire, not into the tip. That's how you're going to get a nice solid tin on it. You want to make sure that you're not doing a cold joint, which would be getting the solder on here and then putting it onto the wire like that. That's going to be a cold joint. We don't want that. We've got this side done. Take the headlight over here and do the same thing. Alrighty, now we've got our connectors both tinned on both sides. So now we just take the soldering iron and we're going to fuse these wires together. Then we can put the heat shrink on and this one will be done. We've got everything soldered together now, so we can move our heat shrink tubing over our joints like that. Get a flame going, nice and light. You don't want to burn anything, just kind of hover over it to get that heat shrink tubing shrunken down. And we're going to take our larger piece of heat shrink tubing and slide that over, mainly for looks. Get this tubing shrunken down. We now have a connector on our headlight. So these will plug into the factory headlight wiring on an E30 M3 or any ellipsoid equipped E30 BMW. These right here are our high beams. We've got our ellipsoid connectors wired in. We're going to be moving over to the low beams now. I've got them labeled because when you order this set, they look very similar. The only difference is the plugs. High beams have 2 terminals on said plug. We're going to have a little ground wire and we're going to have a power wire, and that's it. We don't have to do any guesswork with the low and high side of the low beams. As you can see on the low beams, we've got a red and we've got a black. Black's going to be the ground, red's going to be the power. This 9006 connector is going to hook right up, same color wires, and this is going to be super easy install. We banged out the other two. Now we're going to assemble our headlight. This is going to be the passenger side headlight bracket. If you take a look, the inner headlight protrudes more, so that's going to be our high beam, and the outer one is going to be our low beam. We're going to take out 1, 2, and 3 Phillips screws. Alright, so now we've got our headlight ring, we've got 3 screws, and we've got some headlights. So let's get those installed. So let's slip our low beam down into here, take our ring, same orientation it came off, and reinstall those 3 screws. And just like that, we've got our low beam installed on the passenger side housing. So let's switch over and do the high beam to this final product.